Ohio. Jekabpils, the city of Republican value in Latvia. It is located on both coast of Daugava, approximately in 135 km from Riga. Till 1962 independent cities, divided by the river. Actually Jekabpils. Historical name Jekabpils. And Krustpils. Kreuzberg. In Jekabpils governing bodies of two adjacent regions of Latvia, Jekabpils and Krustpilski are located. This city isn't included into one of them and has Republican submission. The population of Jekabpils since 1990 decreased by a third, from nearly 31,000 to incomplete 22,000 people. The valley of the river with branchings and islands forms quite picturesque landscape. On the place of modern Jekabpils there were two various cities with different history. On the right coast of Daugava there was a settlement of Latvia, on which place in 1237 the Riga bishop Nikolai Naun built the stone cross lock, in German Kreuzberg. Gradually he acquired constructions. In 1511 Krustpils is mentioned in Lena to the book by the senior bishop as the poset. I acquired the right to be called the city of Krustpils in 1920. Archaeological excavations around the bases of the lock demonstrate that in his vicinities there was quite populous trade settlement. It repeatedly collapsed during wars, in particular Polish-Swedish, but every time was restored again. The Russian settlement around Salaski Tavern was known in the middle of the 16th century. It was opposite to Kreuzberg and it was known as the Jelmgolfsky settlement. It was inhabited by the dealers and Korabelshik serving a waterway branch from the Varangian and Greeks, from Russia to Europe through Riga. In that place on the river the 50 kilometer tide but threshold drew which it was impossible to carry out vessels even on a high water, therefore at pier in the settlement goods were unloaded on supplies began and went to Fredrikstad, where again took place on vessels and were lowered downstream. At the beginning of split to the settlement the people who didn't accept reform of the Patriarch Nikon rushed. Reception of old believers their Ednokrovnik didn't contradict laws of Poland which vassal was Kurland. Especially as in the middle of the 17th century present east territories of Latvia. Latgale, which was since 1581 a part of the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth, and vassal to her the Kurland Duchy, became deserted as a result of the Polish-Swedish Wars and epidemic of plague, from 1657 to 1661 raging in Kurland. It induced the Polish King January Sobieski to issue for the benefit of the landowners interested in inflow of workers the decree about free residence of dissenters in the Polish limits. In February 1670 the Russian residents of the settlement at visit of this port of the Kurland Duchy by his possessor Jacob von Kettler, asked humbly him about talent to the settlement of the status of the city. It was specified in the published Konduchny diploma of the Duke that Russians can only be full residents of the new city called Jekabpils in honor of the Duke who granted to him the city rights. So Jeben und Konnen were der guten Gemeinde von russischen Nation einzig unterline. From their environment officials had to be elected, citizens were allowed to practice the religion, to build temples and schools. Da sie auch Priester und Schuldiener mit Aufverbindung einer Kirchunion Schulen ihrer Religion auf ihren Kosten zu bestellen. Jekabpils was given self-government on the basis of the Magdeburg right and big land grounds are attributed. The long Dvina about 3 km wide, and length to the south from the river about 10 km. These borders of the city remained until the end of the 1940th years. In the Russian Empire, located on different river banks, Jekabpils and Kreuzberg were a part of the Kurland province and Vitebsk province respectively. There is an assumption that in Jekabpils in 1683 Marta Skavronskaya, subsequently the first Russian Empress, Catherine was born. In 1962, after construction of the bridge through Daugava, Jekabpils and Kreuzberg were united in one city. As of 2021, according to the Central Statistical Office of Latvia, the population of the city was 21629 people. As of 2021, the share of the population is more senior than 65 years in structure of the population of the city made 20.6%. 4451 persons. And the share of inhabitants is younger than 14 years made 16.6%. 3585 people. The population. For the beginning of year, people. 1990, 30726. 1995, 28693. 2000, 27911. 2005, 26703. 2010, 25233. 2013, 23834. As of January 1, 2015, according to the Central Statistical Office, the population of the city was 23019 inhabitants over 24553 people according to the Register of Inhabitants. The Office of Citizenship and Migration Affairs, EDBs. On a census of 1897, 4150 people, including Lutherans -682, Jews -3164 lived in Kreutzenberg. In Jekabpils from 5829 inhabitants was Lutherans -2087, Jews -2087, Orthodox Christians -595, Old Believers -617 people. Material certificates on indigenous people of Jekabpils in the 17th-18th centuries were received in 2011 during excavation which was carried out by archaeologists of Vitebsk, Mishnieks and Oster and Giza on the place of the first market square in the first cemetery, near present Breviba Street, near Sacred Dahav of the monastery. Pines, Dreva Pravoslavny crosses worn on the neck, fragments of polychromy ceramics, were found in Latvia which wasn't found earlier. After summing up the research, remains of pervopostlanites of Jekabpils were solemnly reburied in the center of the existing Old Belief Cemetery, and in October 2012 on national donations and at financial aid of self-government on this grave the memorable cross was established. As persecutions on conservatives continued, new refugees for whom the earth soon didn't begin to be enough continued to arrive in Jekabpils and they began to lodge in the country, at the end of cords. The plots of the arable land allocated for citizens, where there was a big swamp and a ford through it. Thus there was a village fords which inhabitants till 1940th years treated the city. By the end of the 18th century, conservatives conceded the main city streets, big Brevibas, and posed to dealers, the German-Polish patriciate and officials, and moved on the third big street, Sand. Nowadays a Formalia. During World War I close Kreuzpilsarskaya, the Imperial Army constructed military airfield. His accessory during military operations changed. Bourgeois Latvia expanded airfield, constructed 2 hangars for planes and houses for pilots. It functioned as the military where since 1927 the distant prospecting squadron was based. In 1935 the new reinforced concrete hangar and 2-storied barracks was constructed. Then the regional office of the Latvian Aero Club, which organized aviation circles, competitions of aero modelers, began to work at airfield and then into master skills of piloting. Every year large-scale aviation meetings with participation of actors of the Latvian National Opera were organized. In the program there were single and formation flyings, air fights, bombing imitation, parachute jumps. In 1937 the new plane, to which the head of National Armed Forces Ja. Belodus gave the name Kruspilkinen, was constructed. During the Soviet power near Jekabpils there was a military airfield where the 886th Separate Prospecting Aviation Regiment /Part 35422 from 2 squadrons was deployed. On arms there were planes Yak-28P, MiG-21P, in the 80th Su-MP and Su-24MP. The squadron from Jekabpils, on which arms there were planes of Su-MP, was involved in fighting in Afghanistan. On October 16, 1987, when performing planned flights, one of commanders of a regiment, the Colonel Kornov Arkady Nikolaevich, died. A sword. On September 16, 1946. His plane crashed approximately in 45 kilometers from airfield at the village of Liadona of the Madonsky district of Latvia. On the place of death of the pilot the monument is established. Tail keel of the Yak-28 plane with the nameplate. Also in airfield were deployed Detached Battalion of Communication and Radio Engineering providing Obzarto /Part 26233 and Detached Battalion of Airfield Technical Support Obato /Part 78634. In 1990 Obzarto, Obato and Division of Tech, a technical and operational part of an Avia regiment, were reduced by the American example in Division Military and Air Base. After a withdrawal of Soviet troops from independent Latvia in the mid-90s, the airfield was thrown. Also within the city there were state army warehouses, supplying with all necessary other military units of the Soviet army in the territory of Latvia. The part of the territory of airfield in 2009 was occupied by the Jekabpils asphalt concrete plant. At present an airfield of 250 hectares, the industrial park is created. Jekabpils is connected with Riga, Jekabpils and other cities of Latvia regular bus and railway communication. Through the city 2 main state roads, a stretching born Jekabpils Kraslava-Belarusian border and a Jekabpils Rizekni Russian border, which are components of the international road network run. Also through the city 2 roads of regional value on the left coast of Daugava run. P is Krakow, Jekabpils and P, Jekabpils, the Lithuanian border. Sites: Kruspilsky Lock, estate of Barons Korfav. Recreation Center, architect Andrei Avers, 1954-1959. Sacred Spirits Monastery of Orthodox Church. Fragment paved by a highway Jekabpils cobblestone, Friedrichsite between Moczniki and Klavana, 1.4 km long and 5 m wide. It is constructed about 1820. Also far. Write comments. Read comments. Interesting people will tell interesting stories. All of good mood and good luck.